This meeting is being recorded.
Yeah, saying that I can you mute yourself so that I wouldn't hear all those other people.
Okay.
So I was saying that I already prepared like a sample code that we're going to run through. Then I'll give you your assessments. This is already your assessment, right? So when I give you the class G assessment, right? So, but then this is like a review. Since you already know some of this, but this is like a review to point out some things that you might have missed. And then we'll just keep going like that until we get to Yango where we start building backend applications, right? So what I did first was I created a project using PyCharm. So I'm using PyCharm for this code. I created a project using PyCharm. The project is called Hello World. Then I created a file called app.py. We use the .py extension for Python files. For HTML, we use .html. For CSS, we use .css. For C#, we use .cs. For Go, we use .go. For JavaScript, we use .js. So all of this extension, let me see if I can zoom it in. Oh, I can't. This guy here, where my mouse is, this .py specifies that it is a .python file, right? So we want to always keep that in mind. Now, printing to the console, let me open my console. This is the terminal. This is the console of our application, right? Printing to the console. So when we're talking about, we're going to come back to it, but when we're talking about output operations, there's this output here. We're talking about prints, right? So I'm going to, let me see if, let me zoom, do everything like this. Okay, great. So we have the first print, which is going to print my name. So my name is Gabriel Emmanuel. So if I now do this and I click on run and run app.py, you see that it's run Gabriel Emmanuel. To avoid going all the way down here to do the run, I will always press Control F5 on my keyboard, right? So that's the shortcut here, Control F5. So it just prints Gabriel Emmanuel, which is what we have here. And that's what the print does. And I know you know this. Right? But then that is what we call an output operation because we are outputting to the terminal. I'll remove this guy. Then we have something called an expression, right? This is an expression where we multiply, this is a multiplication stuff, multiply probably a string by an integer, and then it tells you to, to print that string that number of times, right? So right now, if I do Control F5, you see that it multiplied the string 10 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? So if I say, okay, do something like write scale force dash 10 times, right? And I print this. Let's see what will come up. Can you see? Scale for dash, scale for dash, scale for dash. How many times? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Right? So this is an expression. This is what you call an expression. Where you multiply, you tell the print statement to multiply a string by so many number of times. Right? So I want you to know these two things. We might need them later. Right? So let's put that in mind. Now, as we continue our code, I want you to always put in your mind what you are learning. Then if you have any questions at all, am I recording? Record. Okay, I'm recording actually. Good. So if you have any question at all, you can then ask as the meeting is going. You can just unmute and say, I want to ask a question. Do you understand?
Yes.
Awesome. Right, so now we have a first step that says draw a art or a ball with an expression, right? So let's say draw a ball with an expression. If I want to do this, how would I do this? I'm not sure, but let's see. Draw a ball with an expression. So I could say something like this, times 1. See how this would work. 2, 2, 4, 6, 1, 2. Let me see if this would work. Okay. It didn't work. Okay. Let's remove first 1 and 1. Okay. Now, so we need, this is 1/2 of the ball. Let's remove 6. So this is 1/2 of the ball. Let's remove 2 and 2. See, okay, it's looking more like 1/2 of the ball. So now that means we need on the other side, something, right? So let me see what this looks like. It's not gonna work. So this is 1/2 of the ball. Right? So what I wanted to do was to build another half on another side and see how we can achieve that. But basically, this is how an expression works, right? If I say, okay, I want to build a part, right? The heart would look something like this. Yeah, right. So if I want to do that with an expression, I would need space. I would need space somewhere, right? But then I think I already got what I wanted. This was how an expression works. Then I would now, let me just take this away. You can try it later on after the class and see if you can achieve this. That is, draw a heart or a ball with an expression. I'll try it later on. Now, for you to be able to successfully become a software developer or a machine learning engineer or an artificial intelligence engineer or an Internet of Things engineer, you need at least 2 hours daily of coding, at least 2 hours daily for 3 months to become a software engineer, right? Now, you also now want to think about, oh, what do I want to do in 5 years? I remember that you mentioned that you want to become either a machine learning person or an artificial intelligence person. Is that correct?
Yes.
Good. So to achieve that, you now do like a timeline. What do you want to do in 5 years, right? You start somewhere. You want to learn Python. You want to learn Django for software development. You want to learn something for data analysis. Then you now keep going like that, like that, like that. But you do not want to give up. Like I just said, 2 hours daily, at least 2 hours daily. Just keep going and going and going and going and going, and you get to where you're going to. But we're going to assist you to get to a particular point and push you forward. That's the goal, basically. But this is just to advise you that these 2 lines here is just to advise you so that you know what you are in for. It's not difficult, but you have to put in some work. And I know that you're already putting in some work, so that's very good. Don't worry about that. Now, so we're going to talk about variables, right? What are variables? Let me help you. Variables like a bucket that you use to store items, right? How do I put it now? I have, what do I have in front of me that I can use? Okay, I have this nylon or sachet in front of me. This is a pure water sachet. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, this is a pure water sachet, right? What do we normally store inside pure water sachets?
Water.
Good. Good. What do we normally store inside this? Let me see if we can see this. Hold on.
Drugs.
Drugs. Good. That's two examples, and that's fine, right? So that's the same thing with variables and data types. They store information, they store properties, values in memory of your laptop or your personal computer. But then they don't just store anything. That's where data types comes, right? But before we go to data types, which is what we talked about, drugs and water, before we talk about data types, let me open up this guy. So we created a variable called price, and we put in a value called stem. Let me run this and see what was. Let me remove this expression as well as remove. Let me change this to welcome to our Python class. No, welcome to our Python class. 10 is printed, right? So that means that we have 10 as a value that is stored inside price. And what we are using to store it is this equal sign. So the equal sign says the value on the right, pack it and put it inside the property on your left, variable on your left, right? Now we can now print that variable like this. One thing you should know that the difference between printing this price like this and it shows 10 and printing it and it shows price is quotes. If I put quotes here and quotes here, and I run it, see what's going to show price. So it shows that it's seeing it as a string, right? But if I remove the quotes, it's going to see it as a variable and get the value from inside the variable. That is the difference between printing of variables and printing of strings. Now, for me to know what type of variable this is, that's when we talk about data type. I can now decorate it with a type method, right? If I say type, it tells me, it says class of integer. Int means integer, right? So let me put this here. Class of integer. Good. Right? So that's the type of this variable. And that's the type of this variable. And that's how we know the variable. Now, something else you need to know is that we can also change a variable. So if I put water inside here and I finish the water, can I put another water inside?
Yes.
Yes. If I put a drug inside here and I finish it, I can put another drug inside, right?
Yes.
That's the same thing with variables, right? This variable here, I can change what's inside. I can remove the 10 and say, oh, I don't want 10, now I want 20. And it's called reassigning the value of a variable. I am reassigning the value of that variable. Now I want to print that variable, price. Good. If I print it, you see that the price is no longer 20. Price is 10 here. But when I print it, I'm saying 20 because now the price is no longer 10, but 20. And another thing that tells you is when you're running an application or a code, it reads that code from the top to the bottom, right? So it starts from this line 1. I say, what's on line 1? Oh, print. Welcome to our Python class, and it prints it here, right? It goes to line 2. What's on line 2? Oh, it's a comment. I don't need to print it. Line 3, nothing. Line 4, comment. Line 5, comment. Line 6, comment. Line 7, nothing. Line 8, comment. Line 9, comment. Line 10, a variable that has 10 in it, right? Now it carries that 10 and puts it as if inside that container. 10, locks it, right? Then it goes to line 11 and it says variable 10 and 20. But the variable name is price. And I already have price in my memory. I will not create another price. I already have price. So what will I do? I'll remove what I have inside price. throw it away. Get 20, put it inside price, lock it back. So now inside of price, I have 20, not 10, right? So it now goes to the next place and says, oh, print what price is. And it prints it, class of integer. Line 13, prints what price, what's inside price, 20, right? Even though 10 is still here, because as it comes to 11, it has thrown away 10, and now you have 20. So it now prints 20. Do you understand that?
Yes, yes.
Good, good, good. So that's just how variables work, right? You can reassign the value of a variable, and variable is you're storing values uh, into something that you would put in the memory. Now we now come to data types. That's when we now talks about the difference between water and um, medicine, right? Medication, basically. So we wouldn't store water here, and we wouldn't store medication here. And that's how this thing is. So I'm going to comment all of this out. Go to data types. So data types in Python. I will comment all of this out. We have a number of data types in Python. We have string, that is, you put quotes around it. That's a string. String is like alphabets. Then you have age, which is an integer, a number. You don't need to put quotes around it. So integers are numbers. So string is a text or alphabet. Integers are numbers, right? Then this one that have points, we call it decimal, right? But the data type is called float or decimal number. Then we also have this one that says true or false. It's called Boolean or bool, right? It's either true or false. You cannot store anything else inside of it, just true or false. Then we have a list. A list of different items inside of it. Integer, wrapped with a square brace, right? Sorry about that. Wrapped with a square brace. These are data types in what's it called? In Python, right? And we can print all of this. Let me see. Print name. Print age. Print height. Print students. Print grades, right? So let's print all of this and see what this prints. Can you see? So we're printing Alice 225, 5.6, true, and this. If I were to wrap all of this with type, let me just wrap them with type. And run them. So we see the different types. Term, which means string, int, which means integer, float, bool, and list. So these are data types in Python. There could be other data types, but I want you to look at them and say, okay, what other data types are there? In C#, I write C# also. In C#, there are a lot of them. Right? There are a lot of them. Right? So you can also do a research on that. Do you have any question on data types?
No.
Okay. So we have an exercise which are you with your laptop?
Yes.
Okay. So, but that's not what you're connected with, right?
Yes, that's not what I mean.
Okay. So, but what I want you to do is I want you to create is your PyCharm open?
Yes.
Okay, create variables, different variables, right? To store the following information about a patient in the hospital. Create variable for name, age, height, is admitted, blood pressure, weight, and new patients. Right? Just create those variables and let me know when you're done. Then I would have created it on my end. I will see if we created the same thing.
Yes, but how you know? How you see what I've done?
So when I create my own, you will see if we have created the same thing. So you will look at my own and compare it with your own and let me know if we've created the same thing.
Okay.
All right, so I'm waiting. You have 5 minutes. Hello? How far have you come?
I'm still on it. I just want to print it out.
Okay. So while you're doing that, let me start working on mine so that we can compare them. So we have name. Name should be a string. So we just do um Alice. Sorry, Alice. Age should be an integer. So we could do 25. Eyes. Eyes can be a float. So we could do 5.6. Then it's admitted. Is the patient admitted? Yes, the patient is admitted because say the patient is in the hospital. Then blood pressure. Blood pressure could be this, could be an integer, could also be a string. So I would like to put blood pressure as a string, but it can change to any other thing. So 120 over 72. Then weight, I can put as into floats. Then new patients, a bowl. So prints, just print everything like this. Right? Good, right? So is this what you did? If there's any difference, what are the difference?
No obvious difference.
No, they're different, okay? The blood pressure, is this what you did?
No, just that my blood pressure was 156. I did not put it over the heart rate.
Okay. So good. Yeah. So that's basically how data types work, right? Data types work like that. Um, the the different types can be stored into different variables. All right. Now we've talked on the syntax, variables, and data types. Now let's talk on input and output operations. Input and output operations, right? Inputs is when you take something from the user, you take information from the user. So if I'm using your application, probably the console of your application, and you want me to inform you about something, right? Then you ask me information about that thing. That's what you call input. And the parameter that is this, or the method that is this input method. So I'm going to uncomment this out and uncomment this out. It out, then uncomment this out as well. All right, good. So this is input. So basically, we use the input argument. I'm going to remove this first. The input argument and use that to collect information. So what happens is we create a variable and we say input, then pass the question I want to pass, and then close that method. Same thing here. And at the end of the day, what happens is that whatever is asked of us, when we pass the number or pass the value, we store it in the variable. Let me show you an example. So you see that enter your name is asked of us here. And the console is not closing. The terminal is not closing. So I can enter my name, and remember my name is Gabriel. It says enter your age, right? My age is somewhere around 30, so I'll put 30. and I would now press enter, and it says, hello, Gabriel, you are 30 years old, and it closes the application, right? So this input sort of also stops the application from closing until the user have interacted with the application. Do you understand?
Yes.
All right, good. So now I can now use the values in the variable and concatenate it. There's something called concatenation. So concatenation, good. Concatenation is when you're adding variables and strings together, or strings and strings, right? Using this plus sign, right? It's called concatenation. I concatenate it into one string. So you now have this hello variable, you are variable years old. But then when you print it, it gets the variable here, hello Gabriel, which is from this variable, you are 30, which is from this variable years old, right? And that's successfully done everything I want it to do. Good. Now that's an input operation, right? That's us collecting something from the user. Now, we want to also give something back to the user. We've been doing this since the beginning of this call, but we want to highlight it. We want to give something back to the user, and that's what we have print statement. So these print statements that we've been using since is to give something back to the user, right? So I'm going to now open this. Good. We're going to open this and print this. So I'm going to remove this ones. Good. And print this guy. And there's an issue with the line. Ah, okay, the name. All right. It needs the name. Okay, good. So now another thing is this guy. We'll talk about it later, but your code can run into errors, and this console would tell you where your error is coming from. So when I remove this guy, this line 46, 47, and 49, and run it, it says trace back most recent call last. The file gives us the file that the error is inside, app.py. Give us the line 54 in module print hello name, right? So if we go to line 54 here, it says this is where the issue was, right? And it says the error is name is not defined because I have commented in it. So you didn't see where name is coming from, and that was the issue. But now if I run it again, it's going to run. It's going to ask for my name, Gabriel, my age, 30, and it's going to print hello Gabriel, you're 30 years old. It's also going to print this is a simple output statement. And finally, hello Gabriel, you are 30 years old. Now, this other hello Gabriel, you are 30 years old came from here. Can you see it? Can you see it? Right there. No, sorry there. You're muted. No, you're muted.
Yes.
All right. Good.
Yes.
So the difference, can you see the difference between line 49 and line 54 and 55?
Yes. 55 is actually shorter than 49.
Yeah. One reason why they are one reason why it's shorter is because they are in two print statements, right? But another thing is we use concatenation in line 49 when we have LO plus name plus this. But in line 54, we didn't use concatenation. We use comma separated, right? So that means it says, okay, after this, it goes to name. After name, it goes to exclamation mark, basically, right? So that's another way to concatenate. Then finally, we can use formatted string where you pass F before the string. So it says this is a formatted string, and you can now pass the variable inside curly brace. Do you understand this?
Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. So yeah, that's output and input statements. I'm going to comment this out as well as this. Now, an exercise that I want you to do. I want you to write a program that takes the name and year of a user as inputs. I already gave the example here. Okay. Name and year of a user as inputs and print the following output. Hello name, you are age years old. So I want to give you 5 minutes to do this. Collect the name from the user, collect the year from the user, and print hello, the name that you collected, and you are the age that you collected years old. So I would remove this. Let me do this. Okay. So that you will not see the examples that we have. So once you print it and you're sure that it works fine, you can let me know so that we'll proceed. You have 5 minutes. Hello, how far have you gone?
I'm doing it. I want to write my name now.
Okay.
So 15, enter 15, enter. Yes, I've done it.
All right. And it came out fine.
Yes.
All right, awesome. That's good. Well done. So this is it here. So we do a name, collect the inputs, then how are you able to convert your inputs from string to integer?
With the int function.
Awesome. Good, good, good. Yes. So you wrap it with the int function and it converts the string to an integer and you're able to get what you want. All right, awesome. So that's good. Uh Now conditional. Conditionals, conditional. Do you know what conditionals are?
Is it the if statement?
Yes, exactly. So if this, do this. If not this, do this. Right? If else, right? So if you're hungry, eat something. If you're thirsty, drink something. Right? Now we could now say if you're hungry, eat food. Else, if you're thirsty, drink water. Else, do nothing. Right? That's a condition. So conditionals like following conditions to do things, right? And this is how it looks like. So now we have a property or a variable called age, and that's 18. So we're now using this to check if somebody is an adult or not. We're saying if age is greater than or equal to 18, then print you're an adult. If, which means else if age is greater than or equal to 13, print you're a teenager, else you're a child, right? Then this greater than or equal to can also be lesser than or equal to, can also be equal to, which is double equal to, right? Can also be not equal. Do you know um, all of those conditional checkers?
Yes.
All right, good. So it can be greater than or equal to, let me even list them. Greater than or equal to, you know what? Let's see. Where's the comments stuff? Hold on, I'm coming. Where's my hashtag? So it will be greater than or equal to, lesser than or equal to, not equal to, greater than, lesser than, good, right? So these are the different types, right? It's either greater than or equal to, lesser than or equal to, not equal to, greater than, or lesser than. All of these checks you can use to do conditionals. And then the checks for conditionals, if, elif, else. Have you used this before?
Yes. But I have a question.
Yes, right.
What's the difference between elif and else?
Okay, good. So elif is like a second condition, right? It has a condition which is different from the first condition. Now you're starting from a first condition, which is if, right? If this, do this. Normally, you can just do if, then else, which is two conditions, two choice. But what if you have more than two choices? You have like three choices, four choices, five choices. You can now use those middle, you can now use elif to define those middle choices. Do you understand? So I can also add another elif here. Elif age is greater than 3, you're a child, else you are a baby. Do you understand? right? I can now keep adding elif in the middle. Else is the last one. Like you've gone through your condition, but you just still want to add one last thing. That's else. But if you have other conditions apart from the first condition, use elif.
So what will now happen if you use else before elif?
It will stop the listing. It will stop it. So let me show you now. It will not go to the, you see, it's showing error. It will not go to the next one because else is the last one. Can you see?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's the difference. Any other question?
No.
All right, awesome. So that's conditionals. Then loops, which is the last thing we're going to be talking about today, is we use loop to carry out repetitive tasks. Any task that you know that you will do over and over and over again, you use loop to do that, right? So if I want to do like, let me see, these are examples. So there are two types of loop. There's a for loop and a while loop, right? So if I want to do like, I want to write iteration 1, iteration 2, iteration 3, iteration 4, you know, like expression, right? You can use for loop to do that or while loop, right? So let me just run this through and see, show you what it's doing, right? See, iteration 0, iteration 1, 2, 3, 4, count 0, count 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And this can be done for up to 100. So if I want to do iteration to 100, I can just do this. Can you see? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 36, 68, up to 99, 100. And the reason why it didn't get to 100 is because it started from 0. In programming, we start counting from 0, not 1. Have you heard of that before?
No.
We start counting from 0. So let me show you an example. Let me use string now. Name is Alice, right? If I want to print A, I could say name square brackets 0. And it will help me access the first character of the string or of the string, right? Let me close this back. So see A, it prints A. If I say 1, it will print L. If I say 2, it will print I. If I say 3, it prints C. If I say 4, it will print E. Yeah. So, but if you count it, you'll be like 1, that's A is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 characters. So why is 4 A? Because in programming, we always start from 0. So this is now A is 0, L is 1, I is 2, 3, 4. And that's the same thing for loop. When you're doing your loop, you can start from what am I doing? You can start from 0. So loops from 0 to 99, basically, right? Well, it doesn't mean that if I want to say, oh, I want to start from 1, I cannot start from 1. I can always start from 1. And that's where the while loop comes in. Let me show you now. If I want to do 1 to 5, I can say count is 1, start from 1, then stop at 5. So when it's either lesser than or equal to 5, let me remove the for loop and print this. See, count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I can specify that, right? But then basically in programming, you always start from 0 and stop at before the last number. And that's fine. Do you understand this?
Yes.
Do you have any question?
No.
All right. So this is like what we've discussed today. and we focus on the syntax, introduction syntax, the variables, the data types, input and output operations, conditional statements, if, elif, and else, right? And loops. I will drop this video for you later today or tomorrow so that you can watch it over and over again to familiarize yourself and remember these things, right? And you have an assignment. Write a Python program to check if a number is prime. That's one. Two. So you know what prime numbers are, right?
Yes.
Prime numbers are numbers that can only be divided by themselves or one, right? So write a
Yes.
Python program to check if a number is prime. Now write a Python program to ask a user for their weights in pound or LBS, convert it in kilogram and print the result to them. So for this one, you have to Google how to convert pounds to kilogram, then use it to
Yeah.
write the code. Then finally, create a simple number guessing game. So these are the three tasks that were assignment that I'm giving you this week. You'll submit it on Friday next week. Do you understand?
How will I submit it?
I will tell you. Just let me know when you're done.
Okay, but that simple number guessing game, how many chances will they have?
You can give them 3 chances.
Okay.
Thank you very much. So I enjoyed this class, and hopefully we'll continue to enjoy our classes till next week. Thank you very much, Nonso. See you and take care of yourself. Huh?
Yes, thank you, sir.